to start the meeting. This meeting and all other meetings of this committee are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the media in accordance with Wisconsin statutes so that the citizenry may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of the meeting. Okay, it looks like we're all here. You have extra people. So, I have a motion to review and accept it.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, as far as the previous meeting minutes, they get a motion to accept them.
I'll make them to accept the previous minutes.
I second him.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, is there any correspondence?
I don't have any.
Next is the administrative department report. Chris?
All right, I'm going to jump around just a little bit because I want to first introduce Tiffany. Of this group, aside from the office group, Pete has been the only one that has had the opportunity to meet Tiffany because he was on the search and screen. So I'm just going to allow Tiffany to introduce herself. She is our new lifespan and financial security educator. So Tiffany, I'm going to give you a few
Hi
minutes.
everybody, my name is Tiffany Iliadis, in case anybody's wondering how to pronounce my last name. Yeah, I'm very excited. Thank you for the opportunity. So I spent the last 2 years doing a Master of Science in Health and Wellness Management at UWSP, as well as a Health and Wellness Coaching Certificate. It's kind of like a corporate wellness management background. I also spent a couple of years working at a nonprofit doing administrative management down in Chicago. It's a neighborhood organization. On the farmers market, we did town halls, things like that. And then I spent the longest time in my career doing about a decade doing health food store management out on the East Coast. I'm very excited about working with, the aging population. I spent the last 3 years helping my mom to caregive for my stepdad who had Alzheimer's at the end of his life. So I'm very eager to hear everybody's feedback just on what you feel Waupaca County needs. That's me in a nutshell.
I think also one of the things that I think is cool is that Tiffany also spent time teaching English to individuals whose native language was Chinese, correct?
Also Spanish.
Yeah, so teaching English, so experience with some other cultures and some other languages. So any questions for Tiffany? So Tiffany started last Monday, so she doesn't necessarily have a program update and things that she's doing yet, but we're trying to give her a little time. I think many of you may know from when you start a new role, all of the onboarding and training and all of those pieces. So the first week or so is going to be dedicated to that, but she needs to be a UW-Madison employee, and then shortly will be some visiting with community partners and developing some programs. So she's already met. You've already met once. Met once with Sarah Ritchie, who is the program manager for Lifespan, and working on some of the specifics or the logistics of how does the Lifespan project or programs work. And she's also her mentor has connected with her. Ruth Schriefer is her mentor from Iowa County. Ruth is a wealth of knowledge, is an extension veteran of probably close to 30 years. So be able to give some good advice to Tiffany as she gets started. So awesome. So welcome, Tiffany.
Thank you.
So I don't know if you can tell, I'm kind of excited that we've got a new Tiffany on board. The other thing I'm equally excited is that I am currently hiring for Tiffany's counterpart with the same position description in Allegheny County, and that's intentional because we do have, especially the rural communities, and once you get out of Appleton, Waupaca and Outagamie County shares some similar characteristics as far as having some aging populations and having a need to support them a little bit differently than, you know, if you're in the greater Appleton, Fox Cities conglomerate. There are plenty of resources, and as we get into those rural areas, they're not quite as responsive. So this is to help those rural communities. So the Tiffany and the individual to be named later will have an opportunity to collaborate while still being in their respective counties, making sure that those local needs are met, but then also possibly like, hey, I'm good at this. Can you teach this here? And you're good at that. So can you come on, you know, come across and, you know, help each other out. The other thing I think we know is as we look, especially if you look down with the Clintonville, New London, Hortonville area, there's not a lot of, you know, the civil boundary is really a suggestion. I mean, yes, it's useful. It's, you know, for all of the different governance and administrative purposes, but many of those communities don't see the difference, you know, right? We don't really see the difference. And there are both populations, groups of people that are in those aging, in the aging area, but also in that financial security area, trying to make sure that they have education to be able to use if they have limited resources, or even if they just want to make smart decisions. So looking forward to that. So that's our facility, that's our staff updates. Yes, Ken.
What's Tiffany's title again?
So Tiffany's title is Lifespan and Financial Security Educator. So I see at one time I shared our organizational tree. So it's a refocused position, but it's in the same institute, Health, Human Development and Relationships, as Sandy's position. When Sandy moved on to her current role with a different organization, looking at the county demographics, county need, and in conversation with the Human Development and Relationships Institute director, we decided that lifespan and financial security was the space that extension could have the most impact in the communities. Not saying that there isn't a need for family engagement and parenting, but that this was a spot where extension can have the most impact in the shorter and the midterm, and hopefully build continual community support to be able to connect to part of our other core programs in the parenting area. Other questions? All right. So the going back up to the 2023 budget update and discussion, one of the things that I just wanted to share that currently, while there may be opportunity for conversation amongst you and your peers, both with the reading of the budget tomorrow and then the subsequent vote in the following 2 weeks. 2 weeks, or is it a week? Anyway, it's a week. No, it is 2 weeks. It is 2 weeks, because next week we'll share. That's the agenda item, I think, E under my report. So that's been taking up a lot of space in my brain. So we have, based on right now, as I shared at the last meeting, there's been no official change as far as the reductions that were made at the finance committee level. So as I had shared, those were roughly about $86,000 in reductions that affected 2 part-time and 1 full-time position. So one of the things that we have done is, in addition to it's a 2-pronged approach in connecting with both administration and extension program staff, to determine like what could the next step be, or what can the plan be? And then also at the same time, communicating, I've been supporting Jessica and Amy in communicating with, partners, with the partners with programs that, that Jessica would normally be working with. For example, the Leadership Waupaca County alumni, supporters, and businesses or individuals that would typically have individuals, the recruitment folks have been informed that due to the budget action that Leadership Waupaca County at this time is on hold. Due to that fact, and depending on any of the outcome of conversations with the final 2023 county budget, will determine the status of that program. If the budget remains as it is, that program will not exist within extension. We would not have the capacity. That is not something that we would just transition from one staff member to another. That's a very specific community development educator related task, or not task, program. Sorry, that was so that is something specific now. And I'm trying to think, you've also been informing other partners of the potential for some changes and beginning to at least set the stage for a transition by the end of the year. So,
How many participants have they been averaging in the leadership per year lately?
It goes between, typically, this last year was different because it was kind of a transition year between going from not having a program because of COVID to at least having something, and we did it online. But typically it's between 15 and 20. I've had up to 23, which was kind of a lot actually. That was a lot to manage. So I prefer the sweet spot of 15 to like 17 or 18. But it's between 15 and 20. We had a couple of years where it was less than 15, but it was like 13. And that's partly because we had a couple of businesses in the county who were sending multiple people each year, where both right within the same kind of time frame. One of them decided that they weren't going to have a corporate trainer in our community anymore. So they were all going to handle that from their corporate office outside of the state. And then the other, because it was the corporate trainer that was sending people. And then the other one was a similar kind of thing. So so we had gone down a little, but I suspect, given how big our waiting list was this year, that we would have started to tick back up.
So in addition to, you know, the other piece is that Jessica also has a number of programs that have impact that don't quite have that attendance, where you can count those individuals. Thinking of the participation with the Clintonville Main Street conversations, and then total number of people that were part of those conversations, and they kind of ebbed and flowed a little bit. And then I'm blanking. I want to say that We Cope, and I know it's not We Cope because that's an HWB program. The other one that you were just
You Belong.
You Belong. There we go. So that was another effort that was just getting going that would that one there may be some elements that other staff may be able to pick up. That one is one that Jessica's strength was with the networking and the build, you know, the connecting. There may be some components that we could use that initial work or that initial networking and starting point, because there are some good connections. So using some of those frameworks, but we would obviously lose the facilitation and the relational networking that is Jessica's strength.
Yeah. If I could just add to that, generally when more than one of us sits on a committee, we're definitely contributing in different ways. You know, so just because Jessica, or just because one of us may be able to assist in that initiative, we would be bringing a very different component to that group.
Correct.
So I think that it's a program that we should keep. And I guess my question is there anybody else on the committee that feels the same way? that we should keep that leadership program going.
I agree with you, because I took the class and it was really beneficial, even though I grew up in Iowa, spent all my life there. I still took the class, probably, I don't know how many years ago it was, but it was really beneficial. And when I took the class, it was funny, the police chief of Waupaca took it that time. There was a police chief from Manawa. There's just many other people that you got to interact with that you probably wouldn't have otherwise. So I'm a big supporter of it.
I've heard a lot of good things about it, and it's totally adult, I think we should keep it.
Yeah, I participated in Shawano County back about 25 years ago. And I felt it was a really good program.
So then as a committee, should we send a message to finance and ask them to put it back into the budget? I mean, as a committee, so it's, because I feel strongly enough about it that if I need to, I'll bring it up at the budget hearing, but that might not be the most appropriate way
It'd
to
be
do
better
it.
coming from the whole committee is what you're
Yeah,
I
saying.
think it would be better if, as a
Yeah.
committee, we stood up and said, hey, you guys cut the wrong program.
And do you still go to different businesses for your meetings once a month?
We would be.
Normally,
this last
without,
year,
we're just
yeah,
not talking COVID, yeah.
Yeah,
Because that was another part of it, seeing all the businesses and getting to know all the businesses in the area.
Yeah, there were plans to return to
Be that way.
in person again this year, so that would include the business visiting. component.
the only change this year was the timeframe. Rather than doing September to May, it was gonna be a little bit of a different timeframe. But other than that, it was gonna be normal business.
And I'm sorry if I missed something, but why did they want to cut it?
I don't understand it.
I was at that meeting and the impression that I got was that Mr. Kevin was upset that he wasn't more involved as he had been previously. And then he gave, well, there were no real examples, but he said he had received input that the program wasn't doing well and people didn't like it, but he had never taken that information and gave it to Chris so that changes could have been made, and he said it was for years and but with my background, if it's not documented, it didn't happen. And there was no proof given other than angry speech that he gave at that meeting. And there was no discussion at that committee on the pros and cons of the program or anything that you would expect to make a decision like that. That there was no weighing the benefits to the county compared to how much it costs or anything like that. It was just basically Mr. Kevin not liking the program, and so it was going to go away.
And the other piece is that there was not an opportunity. It was a one-sided conversation, so there was not an opportunity because there were some accusations about a couple of specific things about Jessica's action or inaction, which I feel there is another side to that story. I know there's another side to that story that would have balanced that. So that is so Lila, that is, what
Okay.
Supervisor Vasquez shared, it was very specific to that. And it was very specific on the leadership Waupaca County piece. But it also, so one of the things, and I do value the thoughts and the input and the discussion related to the leadership Waupaca County program. And that's a very highly visible piece. And it's a segment of Jessica's overall contribution to the community. So a support for that position would not only result in a leadership program, it would also have continued engagement in the community development pieces, similar to the Clintonville downtown conversations that were facilitated by Jessica and or and others. The other piece is that, and this leads to where Christie, and Christie's comment. So, you know, the transportation team, the team that has, worked with, getting the grant funding. One of the things that also happens is that that Jessica's worked with the facilitation. The overall plan program is that, her involvement was ramping up in either first and second quarter of 2023 to then carry that through. So that's a piece that, is no longer going to be, if the position is not supported, that will be something that will also, go away with the facilitation of, those conversational pieces that are needed, to advance that project forward. So, so these are those are the other impacts, and plus I also don't want to shortchange that all of our educators, we also have those, I'm going to call them pop-ups, where there's some pop-up opportunities that emerge, and you never know where that next conversation or that next opportunity might have, just by being connected and being in community spaces. And sometimes they get, you know, Penny might be in a space and she might hand something off to Christy and Foodwise, and Jessica might be in a space and say, hey, I was in this space, Tiffany, this might be something that you want. So we are also reducing our impact as an overall team, because we have one less person that can be in those community spaces.
So how do we want to handle this?
Yeah,
If we need a motion on
right. I'm just trying to figure out how we word it.
Well,
I can get
can I
pretty
just-
fired up.
Sorry.
Well,
Can I
it's-
share something else?
Sure.
I just, I'm not quite sure how to say this, but I also think, I would encourage to possibly use wording about the position more than leadership, like the program, because there's a chance that they could say like, well, we aren't cutting the program, but somebody needs to lead that program. And so, it's that. So I think just the wording about the leadership program, it's broader.
Right, and that's what I was trying to put together in my head, because they focused on that section to
Right.
get rid of the position. And personally, I felt it was they just weaponized the budget process to get rid of Jessica. And it's inappropriate, and it's unacceptable to me. But we need to protect the position, so that we don't just we don't get caught in that same trap of focusing on one thing, because she does more than that.
Can I put you on a spot? Did you go to that leadership training? No. Before you were made foreman?
Yeah.
Okay, because I mean, this thing has been around for a while. And all of a sudden, just out of the blue, for an excuse, how many years do you know? That's what it seems like to me. I can point fingers here, and I'm not afraid to point them. I think it's one man's judgment, and another one agreed with it.
Or didn't know enough about the program and didn't
Well, I
realize.
think they're very
How
well
much?
aware of it,
Oh.
because of the two, they're not dumb, I just don't understand, they're trying to justify their reason of eliminating the position. And I think we ought to call a spade here, plain and simple. You're going by one guy's opinion, another guy agree on it, then I would say that's the way to word it. I mean, I'm upset about it as you are. Because this is going on and on here. and it's not right.
Okay, I'll make the motion that we send a message to Heidi and the finance committee that the position was inappropriately cut and that we want that reinstated into the budget as a committee. That, does that sound okay, or?
Well, the only thing I was gonna add, if you wanted a dollar amount, it is $44,900. That's the specific amount in the contracted services agreement. And that is also not, so this is the value to Waupaca County is that flat fee then is shared. So that's our co-funded shared position by the University of Wisconsin Division of Extension for the full salary and fringe benefits and all those other key support pieces on that end. So that's just a different piece that it's $44,900 is the actual, it's the budgetary impact of that position.
I think that should be added too, but I wasn't writing down what I said, so.
So to clarify the motion that was made, it's to send a message to finance that the committee feels the community development educator position should be reinstated
Yes.
at 44,900. Okay.
Do we need to add anything more to that or just a simple, I mean, you guys are all the
Well,
word people here.
Maybe a
You add
clarification on, on that leadership program. I mean, using that for an excuse and just to throw it out there, it just doesn't make no sense at all.
I think we.
I mean, you're not building a case.
Right.
There's not a case there.
But I think we've done that. And then when it comes to the full board, that's when we bring that stuff up. This is just letting them know.
Yeah.
And then we
reinstate
want
it.
it
And if they reinstate it without making a fuss, then we win. It's good. But if they want to argue it, I have no problem standing up and telling them exactly who said what. And it's all recorded. Anybody can go on YouTube and see exactly what we're talking about. Like she was writing it down.
Okay, do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second it. I'll dig out my final project. I'm sure I have it.
All in favor?
Right?
Opposed? Passes.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate this. I appreciate it from as the department head. And I also think I can speak on behalf of the team that we appreciate the support. The only so this is just a overall budget update that we're looking at both our 2022 and 2023. One of those little things that kind of goes with the facility updates that we did an office scan and we found that that the overall quality of our office chairs was fairly inferior to both current cleanliness, operational and ergonomic standards. So we're utilizing office supply funds both this year and we included it in part of our capital outlay for 2023 to just, it's one of those things that you don't realize how much you sit in a stupid chair. So we at least want to try and get the best the best quality so that when you're in there for extended period of time, so that they're comfortable. And so we had, either purchase some very inexpensive ones that obviously don't last, or as frugal extension departments often are, we've used hand-me-downs and recycled from other places and things like that. And we finally got to a point where we need to do some upgrades. So, and there's a couple of other pieces is to also, support Tiffany in some of her new pieces. Some of the functions are some of the office fixtures in that her office space have not been updated in quite some time. So also utilizing that just to get, if we've got, right, if these are your spaces that you're gonna work, we're trying to make them the best as possible that we can. So that was one other budget update that I wanted to share. So one of the other pieces and that I did want to share in team, if we wanted to, I do have the draft of the slides deck up, at least to give a very, very quick overview if we wanted to. But one of the things that all three of the county teams that I've been working with, we have next Monday, we have the opportunity to begin our civil rights review process. This is a every 4-year process, though I think our the last Waupaca review might have been 5 years ago because
2016.
yeah, so yeah, because COVID kind of stretched some things out. So what we have, so we have a responsibility to just demonstrate our accountability, but it's also an opportunity to kind of reflect and celebrate. So what all of our teams have been working for, I mean, in some cases, the last year, different bits and pieces the last year. And then as we get closer to our actual deadlines, crunching a little bit. So one phase that we needed to do, or that we do, is we've been basically assembling our documentation. So letters, emails, calendar invites, actual documents and resources that we have shared that have that show examples of intentional outreach to the various protected audiences or underserved groups in within the community. One of the things that's important is that extension, we have multiple funding sources. One of those is through the United States Department of Agriculture, so federal funding. So this is where we have a responsibility to show our compliance in the work in meeting all of the federal civil rights responsibilities that comes with that funding. We also, as we talked about the connections, the co-funded positions have state taxpayer dollars that are associated with the positions, and then coupled with the contributions from the county. So we're responsible. We want to show our responsibility and our accountability that we're using those monies in a way to ensure that we're reaching all of the residents of, in this case, Waupaca County. So we've been assembling files, and we have Google folders with all kinds of stuff that we're gonna share, that I'm gonna share actually after this meeting with the review team. Next Monday, we are gonna give the team's gonna give a presentation, about an hour and 15-minute presentation that includes the basic demographics and characteristics, key characteristics of Waupaca County. This is the why or the who, so that we know what our audiences are, or our underserved or protected groups. We should talk about some of our programming or outreach efforts to reach those audiences, and then we start to look ahead and either both share any of our challenges, and then also look ahead to what we want to accomplish. Couple days after that, so this group Wednesday afternoon, the review team is actually going to come on site, and we're going to have some conversations that, based on the files and the presentation, there will be some follow-up questions, there will be some suggestions, and there will be opportunities to kind of start some coaching and looking at our plan, because about within 2 to 3 months after, we have each of our offices have to create or have the opportunity to create a civil rights plan for the next 4 years. So looking forward to that. So I guess the question, I have the slide deck up. I know that it is not in a final stage. We still have, this is kind of the, but I guess my question is to at least share the demographic, the basic community characteristics. Is that something that, are we ready to show that, or do we just want to share verbally, and then, at one of our next meetings, we'll show the more prime time, polished after we presented. So apologize, this was a last minute thing in my head that, I did, so.
I'd be okay waiting for the polished
Okay,
version.
all right, we can do that. One of the things that, for example, or how we use this information is directly in the scoping of the position that Tiffany's in. You know, Waupaca County does have an older population when you look at the state of Wisconsin, you know, by proportion. The other thing is that we do have, Waupaca County has a fairly significant number of individuals who are in the poverty range. And or there's also this other group that is referred to, the ALICE, which is access limited income constrained. These would be individuals that may not meet that definition of poverty, but they're still living paycheck to paycheck or worse. But they may not meet a federal definition. So that's one of the things with financial security and lifespan. You know, that is important. I know Christy and Haley utilize that information because it helps guide them in the both the school districts. School districts are some that have some pretty strong data around them with the both the state and the DPI, the Department of Public Instruction information. So that's just some really quick examples of how we do utilize this information as we move forward. The other thing that we also know through the demographic data is that, well, yes, most of the families in Waupaca County do speak English. The second most common language spoken at home is Spanish, and it's increasing each year or each time they take an evaluation. We do have a growing Hispanic and Latino population, largely due to a lot of our industry, and there are hopefully some continued opportunities. We can continue with our existing and continue to reach out to those audiences, you know, and that's one of the things that we'll get to share is what some of the things that we have been doing and then being able to do even more. So questions? Any other questions for me before we move on to the next item and allow the educators to share some of their updates?
I'm trying to think, I got one
Okay.
but I don't know if I read somewhere a couple months ago that there's billions and billions of dollars that is going unused for the elderly for federal money. Is this something that Tiffany could check into these programs because they might be beneficial for some of our elderly, or
I do think that is, I mean,
an area that
I think that would be within in the not so distant future to work with the I think there might be some, her program, the lifespan group that works together, that might be a conversation point that they have. They might be able to, if there are some available monies that might be eligible, they might be able to write a grant. Or one of the things that is also, and this is what sometimes happens, is that that our team might be able to help support a community organization or some other type of body to help support them to be able to then apply and receive monies if they're eligible, whatever the eligibility requirements are. So that may be a good thing to kind of put on Tiffany's radar, to see what opportunities there may be down the.
Any other questions? I guess we'll move on to item 7, outreach, education, or program reminders and announcements.
I have something to share.
You
Go ahead, honey.
Nope, you can go.
Okay. Through FoodWise and the coalition that Christy and myself and Amy are a part of, Living Waupaca Way, we are hosting a food drive for the Thanksgiving timeframe. We started it on the 14th of October and it runs until the 14th of November. This is the third year that we've done a food drive, and last year it was very unique in the way that we were able to distribute food bundles to families who were nominated by partners in the area, anybody local who knows of individual or family who could use some extra help during the holiday season. And we are thrilled to be able to do this again this year through funds that we have with Living the Waupaca Way, and also support from community partners and organizations that we work very close with through Foodwise. We have the nominations open again. Like I said, that started on the 14th, and our network is really not limited to anybody, but we do send it out to our direct partners that we know who work with individuals who have limited resources. And so I will put a call out to any of you who know of anybody who could use a little extra help around the holidays. I'm happy to send out the nomination form. It's a Google form that you just fill out, and then the nominator is responsible to pick up the food bundle at a later date when we send out that information. It goes out a little later. But I also am putting a call out to, we are collecting specific items for the drive, and we put together a cohesive bundle of food that makes a really nice holiday or like a Thanksgiving food package. So I have some information here for you guys. There's a table at the front of the courthouse where we are collecting these food items, or you could drop them off right in extension. Any bit of help is appreciated, and it's a really, really neat opportunity that we're able to be a part of. And anything else to add to that, Kristen?
I would just add that we also really take advantage of this time of year, recognizing that it's a popular food drive time for a lot of organizations, schools. Sometimes you'll see, like at sporting events at schools, instead of feed enter, you bring in a couple canned goods. So as the Hunger Network and through our roles in Foodwise, we take this opportunity to educate the community on what the food pantries really need. We have a very close connection with the food pantries in our county, and we encourage the individuals who are collecting the food to have that conversation with the pantry, because they are generally looking for specific items. And that is something that we don't always think about as a community, that they, they are wanting certain foods to donate or to collect. So we do also use this time as an opportunity largely to just educate the community. And just in the conversation we had at our last Living the Waupaca Way meeting with Sue Abrahamson at the library, they have Jim Miller's pumpkins displayed right outside the library, and Jim usually collects food for the food pantry as well. When it was at his house, he did. And now there are 2 large grocery carts outside for people to donate food to the Waupaca Way Food Pantry and wherever they else distribute. But we took that opportunity to just say, do you think that he would be open to communicating with the pantry to see what they really need this time of year? And then putting that out to the community, having maybe a flyer where they're collecting. And that's just the food pantry is always honored to collect any kind of food, but they do receive certain foods from the government. And so when they're getting 85 cases of green beans, they may not necessarily need green beans from the community. And so again, they're always so grateful for what they receive. But that's part of our job, is to just help communicate and educate to the community and to our partners. So we're kind of a connector.
One last tidbit about this opportunity is last year we distributed 101 food bundles to local individuals and families. And this year our goal is 150. So really excited. And we've already had some nominations come in, and we've had a really great collection of food starting to roll in too. So Thank you.
And I will just share also that this time of year is our re-enrollment for 4-H along with appreciation and recognition time of year. So it all kind of happens at the same time in the fall. We end one year and start the next year. And so we had National 4-H Week, the first week of October, and just trying to get, I had gone to all of the libraries in the county to take brochures to have available and email things to the newspaper and to the school districts. Along with Tractor Supply in New London does a clover campaign, and they do that in the fall and spring to raise money for 4-H nationally. They had in New London, they're very happy to have people come in and do things. And we had a 4-H bake sale there last the 15th. So yeah, last Saturday. And we made almost $500 on a bake sale at Tractor Supply. So it was, we had our 4-H families had donated quite a bit of baked goods and just a really good turnout of people coming to buy those baked goods. And I brought some back here and Haley helped me. We took those down to the break room and they disappeared in like a day and a half. So, but that was nice that they, Tractor Supply is very, very good about having people from the community come in and do things. And we set up right in the store. They said, well, you know, it might be cold outside, so we'll just have you in the store, you know, and so just very easy to work with to do that. And then we also have our awards night for the young people that can get leadership awards, achievement awards, project awards, all of those things for their work this past year. And that is coming up on Thursday night, November 10th. That will be in the Pavilion building at the fairgrounds, the newer grandstand pavilion building out there. Really, really nice building for events that is at the fairgrounds that we're able to utilize. And then 2 days later, we will have our recognition banquet for our adult volunteers at Cedar Springs in Manawa that rotates around. And like the 4-H Leaders Association, they'll pay for volunteers who are celebrating 5, 10, 15 years of work as volunteers. They'll get a free meal. Other leaders get a half-price meal, and we just really try and share our appreciation for those who help carry out the program of 4-H throughout the year. And I had just wanted to share, you're welcome to come to either of those. We have sometimes in the past, it depends on the year and who's interested or wants to. We have had a committee member that has done just a very brief welcome, like for our awards night that would be in Waupaca on November 10th. If anybody's willing to get up in front of a group of about 150 and, you know, say hi from the county board and the extension education committee, please talk to me. That'd be great if somebody would be willing to do that.
It's November 10th. This November 10th.
Yeah.
That's also the town association quarterly meeting.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
At the sheriff's
Well,
department?
I'll be tied up.
Mhm. So,
Sheep's over.
We got a county board meeting that night.
but,
We're being, I got my feeling ours is too.
so,
Oh, that's good.
so those are the things coming up within the 4-H program. So.
Okay, is there anything else or anything?
Amy,
Yes,
strange emails.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now, did you send an email out on a quarterly towns association?
I did.
You did send
Yes,
it.
that was
Why does it
me.
come through as spam?
You might need to add me to your contact list.
I gotta add you?
Yeah, I can show you afterwards how to do that.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah. It shows up as spam because I have that wix.edu email.
Yeah,
So
okay,
it showed up
I,
as spam.
I think it was somebody else, I
Yeah.
saved them both, cause I couldn't figure out why it came through as spam.
There was one that came through that Dennis
Yeah,
told me
I
about.
That one,
That wasn't me, and that one was spam.
That one,
Yeah, so,
but I totally can remember it.
Yeah.
Okay,
yep, I'll show you afterwards.
alright.
Yeah.
That cleared up.
Yeah, Ken, if you could be as lucky as us and have to take, internet computer safety, email safety training on a regular basis.
I can choose here.
Yeah, we have to, and actually I have to take a bunch because I have to take this, like, the same training, like, for multiple counties, so.
Oh, no.
Or similar training, so I am tested, but yeah, some of the tricks of determining why. If they're a spam or a junk email.
You have to start over, you have to start grade 1 or something there. 20 or something.
Sorry, I realized that I did not, when I said that it is also 4-H enrollment time. In case anybody is not familiar, I haven't done just a general like 4-H promotion opportunity for a while either. 4-H is for anybody grades kindergarten through 1 year after high school. So if you know of any young people, you do not have to have animals. It is, you can live in town, in the country. We have 18 4-H clubs in Waupaca County. And this past year, we had just about 425 members. And we're also trying to do more opportunities to help people learn about 4-H by having things open to non-4-H members. So for example, tomorrow night, we're doing a workshop in Manawa. We're going to read a story. It's for kindergarten through 2nd grade. We're going to read, there was an old lady who swallowed some leaves. And we're going to make a scarecrow craft because after she swallows the leaves, it makes a scarecrow. And so we're going to do a scarecrow craft and just learning some basics about 4-H. But right now we do have 15 kids coming, and half of those are non-4-H members and half are 4-H members. So just trying to make those opportunities available. But if anybody ever wants to know anything about 4-H, I'm happy to share that information. And there's a large, if you see it on cable, there is a large Wisconsin marketing campaign right now for 4-H, but the commercials are only on cable channels, not regular TV channels. And I've gotten, I believe, 3 requests already in our county from that campaign because they come through my email with a certain, where they sign up for that, they come through as a certain tagline. So we can see where they come through. So there have been a few requests already from that. So. Now I'm done.
That's really cool.
Mhm.
Maybe just a teaser for our polished civil rights conversation in an upcoming meeting, but I do feel like in our last review in 2016, this is really supposed to, it's intended to be a learning opportunity for how we can do better. And it comes down to knowing who our audience is, knowing who we're trying to reach. And I know that I took away just the fact that it doesn't have to be, it can be less prescriptive to have our programming available to everyone in our county. And you know, it's getting creative like that and coming up with new ways to make sure that the word is out and that it's accessible to everyone. And so showing what we've been doing for the last 5 years.
Is there anything else?
Who prints the book? Who does this? Who puts this together?
That one is Haley Nelson.
Or Haley?
Haley
She does- I
would
see her
put that-
name is in here. We haven't met her yet.
Oh, well, we should have
Yeah.
Haley come over.
Yeah.
Haley,
All right.
so
My bad.
Haley puts it together.
I was in on the interview
Yes,
and I see her name was in here
yes.
and
Haley puts it together with input from the HCE, that one is specific to home and community educators. So that one she puts together with members of HCE, and it would be now Tiffany's position. Like Sandy and Haley would have worked together to create that. Haley and I worked together to create the 4-H newsletter.
So for those who, what is it, a popular request? Right, so this is Haley, not Haley, all right, this is Haley. She is the one that that saw the last set of emails as far as the committee. So she helped out Amy and is doing, she provides support for Tiffany and Penny as primary. So you want a quick introduction?
Haley number 2. Happy to be here. Very nice office to work in and great group of people. From Waupaca, 4-H leader for a long time.
You don't have to
Put on the
listen,
spot.
you don't have to listen to tractors no more.
No, no, I don't. I do love tractors though. I'm from an ag background. My husband and kids, we have a small farm and yeah.
And Haley her daughter raises sheep, and they have been experimenting and learning a lot with wool and felting and all kinds of unique opportunities with that.
Yeah, it's nice. Gig, I guess. And
Your side hustle?
there you go. Not working or being a mom. So yeah.
She's been a great addition to our
Aw,
office.
Yes,
thank you.
agreed.
Thank you. Very nice. Thank you. Well, nice to meet you.
Okay, there's nothing else, I guess. Next meeting is scheduled for the 28th. Chris, is there a meeting gonna be scheduled for December, or is that usually?
So traditionally, this committee has not met in December. The traditional meeting date would either be right before the Christmas holidays or in between Christmas and New Year's. So if the 28th would be right after Thanksgiving. And so if there were what has happened is that there have been, although after Thanksgiving, we've had some conflicts. It was the Monday before with deer hunting or other breaks. And we've moved to like the second Monday in December. But I think if we keep the November meeting, we would have our civil rights presentation. Well, we have to have it done because it's Monday, next Monday. So we would be able to share that unless there were some conflicts. Then we could look at a different date.
Okay, if that's it, I guess, call for motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
We'll move.